your program is something that a lot of people are curious about, and I know probably enough to scratch the surface. So I'll be the first to admit I could be educated. So that's kind of what I'm kind of hoping to do, is just have you. I've looked on the website and I kind of understand roughly what y'all are doing, but give me the 101 version, and then we'll just kind of get into some questions.
Okay, so the 101 version is, first off, we are a licensed mortgage lender, but we are also a local nonprofit.
Okay.
So we've been in business here in Des Moines. This is our 32nd year. And we started in just 5 neighborhoods. And then since we had so much success, then it just grew. So our mission here really is to help with revitalization and sustainability of housing in neighborhoods, and keeping it as affordable as we can for borrowers. So what we try to do is we have a very specific lending area that we lend in. So if you visit our website at neighborhoodfinance.org, you're going to be able to go see a lending map. And in your lending map, you can pop in an address and it will tell you if that property falls within our approved lending area.
Perfect.
So the idea behind this is we provide financing for people purchasing homes, refinancing homes, or maybe doing secondary home improvement type loans behind somebody else's mortgage for repairs or improvements.
Yep.
You want to focus on just purchases today?
Yeah, let's do purchases for the first part, and then we'll go into accepting, like a seller accepting an offer that is using a loan by neighborhood finance. Just things to think about, things to look at, if that's okay.
Yep. So all of our loans that we do, when somebody enters into an agreement to buy a property for a purchase, one of the first things that we do is we want to try to pre-qualify the borrower, make sure that they're ready to buy.
Yep.
So we're going to go through the steps that any lender typically would, but there are a few things that we're looking for. We want to make sure that they meet, the minimum down payment requirement that they're going to have. So right now, a borrower has to have some skin in the game of their own verified funds.
Yep.
And we credit qualify everybody just like everybody else does. So we use the standard conventional underwriting guidelines, utilizing the Fannie Mae Homestyle Standard Renovation Program. That's how we structure all of our loans.
Cool.
So every one of our loans is a payable loan that is paired with a forgivable note. So they get credit up front for the loan forgiveness when we structure the financing. And then as long as they maintain occupancy and ownership of the property over 5 years, at the end of 5 years, that forgivable note gets released and it goes away.
Gotcha. So there's a loan and a note, which is, the loan is, it's essentially a note also, but so there's two.
There's two.
Your loan, your mortgage loan, the original loan, is first position. This is second position.
More or less.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So what we do is we will, when somebody enters into a purchase agreement, the first thing that we do is we get the purchase agreement and we start structuring the loan. We get an idea and a feel for maybe what needs to be done to the property from a required repair standpoint, or if there are any other improvements that a borrower wants to make, what are those, so that we can kind of create that renovation budget and build it into the loan.
So it could be that there's no renovation needed and you guys will loan on that, or it could be some type of renovations.
Right. Let's just say the house is in great shape and everything looks good, but you know what? I've got a bigger family and I need that extra bathroom. Gotcha. And I want to add a bathroom in the house, and maybe I have to add it in the lower level, or what do I do? But we can utilize the program to help them get funding to add that bathroom that they don't have.
Okay.
So from a repair standpoint or improvement standpoint, this goes for interior, exterior repairs, any energy efficient items. So we can insulate homes, we can mitigate foundation problems, mold problems, radon issues, termite issues. We can do windows, doors, roofs, siding, driveways, sidewalks, patios, decks, replace stoops, update electrical, update plumbing, update mechanicals. We can put in, whole home generators. We put in solar panels. We build garages.
Wow. And all those. So help me. So $100,000 house needs $5,000 of windows.
Right.
What does that look like?
Like,
So that $100,000 purchase, if we send our inspector out and the inspector comes back and says, yep, you don't have any required repairs, but my windows are older, I want to replace them.
Yep.
So that borrower would then be tasked with securing bids from a contractor.
Yep.
And they have so many days to do that, because with purchases, you have timelines to follow. It's like, okay, I've got a close date.
Yep.
So our process takes a little longer just because we have more moving parts and pieces.
gotcha.
And they've got to get the bid secured before we can place the appraisal order.
Okay. And so you'll give a percentage of that 5,000 or of the total bid, or what's that look like?
So in a purchase situation, customers will be able to utilize and have forgiven up to the first $10,000 towards the cost of repairs or improvements.
Okay.
Right now, we haven't been through an increase in that forgiveness for quite a long time, and we're hoping that that changes maybe sometime by July 1st.
And is that a decision by the state of Iowa or Des Moines?
So we get funded by a few different things. We get funded from the city, we get funded from the county, but then we're also a CDFI organization, Community Development Financial Institution. So we're part of NeighborWorks of America. So we get our funding for those things, but the forgivable money is going to come from the city and the county, and that's their reinvestment into the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So we use the lending vehicle to help structure financing for a borrower that can incorporate the purchase together with any repairs or improvements that they need to. As long as at the end of the day, the value supports that total investment, we're good, because we lend off of the after improved value.
So the $100,000 house after windows has to be valued at $5,000 because the windows are cost $5,000. Is that right?
That's fairly accurate.
Roughly.
Because of your loan forgiveness, you're going to get up to that first 10,000 forgiven towards the cost of those repairs and improvements. So we lend up to 95% of the after improved value, or the purchase plus the improvements, whichever's less. So as long as that appraisal is really within $10,000 and you don't have a bigger variance, then what we do is we set up a loan, and we never have PMI insurance on our loans. So the other thing that we do is we use an 80-15-5 method when we finance. We're going to structure the first 80% on your primary loan. We're going to include all your tax and insurance things to escrow for your payment. And then the balance of that is going to be put on either what we call a piggyback or a tandem second. And we can finance that up to that maximum amount. And the difference there is that on that tandem second, those are always done on a 10-year term at an interest rate of 2%.
Oh.
So they're going to have a portion of their money that's going to be done on a shorter period for a below market rate. And the benefit to them is they're going to be able to build wealth and build equity faster in the first 10 years than what they would go in conventional financing, where they're not getting any of this benefit. And
yep,
that's how that will work.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, sometimes borrowers might qualify for other down payment assistance. So anytime that we use down payment assistance tools, in addition to what they might bring down from their own money, then we just add these on. And sometimes it gets down to a point where we're financing less and less. It may eliminate the need for us to have a tandem second. It might just get rid of it altogether. Or it might be a bigger project where we're not getting quite as much value as what we thought or we need to get. But because of all the other assistance, at the end of the day, we're able to structure it to a point where, it's not going to impact the borrower with them having to bring in any more additional money than what they already know they're going to need to bring in.
Do you help the borrower on those other programs, the other assistance programs?
We do. So we have 2 down payment assistance programs here at NFC. And those are, I'll back up for a minute. On our improvements program for the forgivable monies towards improvements and repairs, when we do it as a purchase and NFC is that primary lien holder, the loan has to come through us. So we're the ones that are going to do the financing for that. The money then, there is no income restriction for the borrowers in the household to qualify for that. The only time there are income restrictions is when there's down payment assistance or closing cost assistance involved.
That's the only time that there's income requirements.
Is when there's down payment or closing cost assistance involved.
Oh, I didn't, that's
And
something,
so-
I didn't realize that. Okay.
So for families that are currently under 80% of the median income limit for the number of people in the household, if they're under 80%, they could potentially get another 2,500 that's forgiven from NFC to use towards that. We have a deferred loan for down payment assistance. It's $10,500 that goes to offset the difference of, what their minimum investment is, normally 3%.
Yep.
And we're looking to get that reduced as well. But we've got some big changes coming with some programs. And I will tell you that maybe by July 1st, we'll probably be doing this again.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. Let's do it. No, this is good. This is a good intro.
Yeah. So what happens then with the down payment assistance is it's deferred loan, no payment, no interest, stays out there for the life of the loan. Borrower does not have to pay it back unless they refinance or sell the property.
Okay.
We also have another one that is just getting rolled out in April. And that is really just to help with the African-American community as part of just what are we doing to try to be more inclusive and increase the level of African-American homeownership.
Yeah.
So we have another down payment assistance program called Journey to Homeownership. That's going to be a deferred loan as well, but that can be used in addition to all these other benefits.
Okay.
And so it can be another 10,500 up to a maximum of 15,000, depending on where the property is located. On top of that, there's Federal Home Loan Bank. Federal Home Loan Bank we participate in. And Federal Home Loan Bank is another down payment assistance program that is income driven for first-time home buyers with families under 80% of the median income limit. That is $7,500 maximum that's forgivable after 5 years. So sometimes we have families that qualify for all this stuff.
Yeah.
And you just, at the end of the day, that's how we can truly make homeownership more affordable. I would say when you've got properties that are listed out in the market and that are not moving, they're not moving probably because of one of two things. They're either overpriced or there's stuff that needs to be done.
Yep.
And we don't want a borrower to be shied away from that ugliest house on the block, because we can make that ugliest house on the block the prettiest house on the block.
Right.
So as long as they're buying it right, and all of the things that we're pulling into it from the improvements and repairs, all of the improvements and repairs are done after we close the loan. And they will have up to 6 months to get that work done unless they've got some type of, supply chain issue or weather related issue where they need to get it extended. They can work with us to get that extended out and allow the proper time to get those projects complete. So as long as, we've had people that have bought properties for 50,000 and put 75 grand into them. It's just, as long as at the end of the day, your investment can be supported by an end value, then
Yep.
There's a lot of different things that we can do.
And it has to be, we're just talking homeowners. This is not someone that is not going to live in the property.
Correct. Has to be for an owner occupied borrower of the home.
Okay. And the qualifications, unless it's down payment or closing costs, the qualification is just location.
It's basically the property has to be in our lending area.
Yeah.
We have to credit qualify them.
Yeah.
And we just use standard conventional underwriting guidelines for that. Typically 680 credit scores and above. Anything that's below that, we send to a residential loan committee for them to review and approve. Those things too are probably going to be changing soon. But then we also have a mortgage navigator here that we've just brought on and hired for those people that we can't qualify today. We don't want to tell them no, we just want to tell them not today.
Yep.
And then we're going to get them connected to the mortgage navigator for them to help them through whatever issues they're having so that we can hopefully create a path and bring them back to get them into a home at some point.
Perfect.
So we've done that, and that's something recent that we've just done.
And the location of the map, is it changing? You sounds like you got some big changes coming up. Do you anticipate the area changing?
I'm not positive on the areas changing at this point. Lending maps and territories, when we get monies from NeighborWorks through our CDFI fund, we have to make sure that we're serving communities and neighborhoods that basically are under that 80% median income limit. And so we want a certain percentage of our loans that we do to serve that community, because those are the ones that are in most need, and those are the ones that are most underserved.
Yep.
So I think we meet that criteria based on what we're doing here.
Yeah.
But we've got, if you go out to the lending map, our lending area is pretty big.
Yeah, it's very big. I was very impressed.
We just added an area in Urbandale this last year that wasn't here before. So right now that goes from like Merle Hay Road over to 86th, from Hickman to the south, all the way to Aurora on the north.
Yeah.
Little part of the old part of West Des Moines. So we're in there. So our lower programs will work there.
Cool.
Yep.
What, because I know I have some savvy listeners and viewers that are not trying to skirt the system, but need to know all the rules. If someone moves in, gets it all fixed up, moves out, makes it a rental, what does that look like in your?
They're going to pay back their forgiveness.
Perfect. Is it prorated?
They have to. So the forgiveness is, they get credit for the forgiveness up front when we structure the financing for the repairs and the improvements. They have to live in the property for at least 5 years in order to realize that full amount of the forgiveness. After that, they can, but the forgiveness is prorated at 20% per year over 5 years.
Okay.
If somebody moved, let's just say somebody got relocated and they had to move, and they've been in there for a little over 2 years. Then when they go to sell, we're going to get 3 years of the forgivable money back from the equity proceeds at the time they sell.
Okay.
If they're in a situation to where there's really no equity proceeds, we're not going to hold up the sale for that. We're going to make other arrangements for them.
Gotcha. Okay. That's fair. Man, this is really cool. I thought there was more income guidelines and restrictions on the improvements.
Now, so let me pull up real quick. I'm just going to pull up our down payment guidelines. I'm going to pull up our income limits so you can kind of see what they are. But in here for the area median income, these are from 2021, and these will be changing sometime probably in April.
I bet that this isn't going to let you share. I don't know if it's going to stop recording, but I'm going to try to make you the host. There we go. I think you can share.
So I'm going to share a median income limit screen. Here it is. So right now in Polk County, a family of 4, the median income limit is $73,050. That means if that borrower is under that limit, they're going to qualify for potentially Federal Home Loan Bank money if it's available. They're going to qualify for NFC Neighborhood Reinvest, Journey to Homeownership if they're African American. Now, the 100% of the median income limit is where we cap our guideline at for our down payment program.
Okay.
So not all down payment programs work the same. Some of them are capped at 80, some are at 100.
And is this?
We've chosen ours to be at 100.
Perfect. And when you say income limit, is this what you pay taxes on the year prior?
Your gross income for the household. So let's just say that you've got a husband and wife that live in the house and they have 2 kids. Well, for whatever reason, the wife's not going to be on the loan, but she's living in the house and there is an income there.
Yep.
Qualifying, we don't use that income for qualifying, but we use the income to determine assistance when it comes to down payment.
Okay.
So if that limit for that household of 4, if they earned under 91,300, then they're going to qualify for our down payment assistance programs.
So earn would be maybe total W-2 wages.
Correct.
Okay. So it's not adjusted gross income. It is true
Total gross wages.
Gross wages. Okay.
Gross wages. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep. So, just for a single person, somebody that was buying a house at 100% of the median income limit, if they were under 64,000, then they would qualify for our deferred down payment assistance loan, in addition to using the benefits towards the improvements and repairs, which don't have income restrictions.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm going to show our lending map real quick.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get back here to our lending map, and I'm just going to show Des Moines.
Yep.
As you get up here, anything that you see in these colored areas on the map, those are the neighborhoods that we can lend in. So the things that have the little green outlines around them, those are called special investment districts. So borrowers may have access to additional forgivable money through another program called Invest DSM that we partner with on that. But we have a small section of Windsor Heights that we lend in. This yellow area here would be West Des Moines. And then the dark blue is the area that we added in Urbandale.
But the yellow West Des Moines, you would do that?
That is our lending area. We can lend in this part of West Des Moines.
Oh.
So this goes from like Railroad and 63rd Street all the way over to 35th Street up to the interstate. So Valley Junction area, all that stuff in through there. Pretty big area in West Des Moines that we have access to as well.
Yeah. Okay. It's even bigger than I remember. So yeah.
Yeah. So I'll stop sharing right now on that screen, but as far as any, sewer replacements, you get sometimes sewer line replacements. We see those, we can help with that.
Okay.
The only thing that we don't do is general landscaping.
So when you say, like, help me understand, when you say you help the sewer, so sewer repair replace is $10,000, but the value of the home doesn't really increase, or does it?
It's really not going to. That's a repair and not an improvement. So it's important to know that when you're selling a property, as a seller, if my house is worth X, but I know I have this repair that's sitting out here that I'm not going to do, and I'm going to let somebody else do it, I shouldn't be selling my property here. I should be selling my property here, because I have to give a cushion for that buyer to be able to absorb that expense.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yep. Yeah.
So, you just have to look to see, what are we doing? You're not going to get the return on investment on some things.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's really going to depend on what those improvements or repairs are.
Cool. Okay. Let's switch a little bit over into the lending, the listing side. When you're accepting a buyer that has neighborhood financing, just because I would imagine with the tight market right now, and it's tough to sell a seller, that neighborhood financing corp would be a better option to accept than a conventional loan. But I think that's usually because the agent or the seller doesn't fully understand the intricacies. So educate.
Yep. So as a seller, when you're working with a list agent, that really is the only thing that is different is we layer a lot of programs. We layer a lot of benefits for a buyer. But the benefit that we deliver back to the community is we're reinvesting in that property. So they don't do it, we do.
Yep.
If you want to roll back a little bit, several years ago when we came through the mortgage crisis, we had a lot of different things that happened with the disclosure world in mortgage, where you had the timing of disclosures and things like that took place. And when that happened, everybody in the market just shifted. And the expectation was, you should be setting everything out. Just expect at least minimum 45 days to get to closing. So for those that were there that remember that, well, what happened in the lending world, we got really, really good at what we did. And so the needle started to get moved back, where we were closing deals in 30 days. But you have to understand, as a seller, it's an emotional experience, and it's a stressful experience and process. And so when you're looking to sell, do you really need to be out in 30 days? Or do you have some flexibility? And what are the motivations for being out in 30 days? There's a lot that happens. And when you look at 30 days, I have 20 days in a work month. So you're asking lenders and buyers to get inspections done, appraisals done, title work done, underwriting done, all these things done, and get it to a closing day where you have 3-day waits after a closing disclosures delivered to be able to get it to a closing table. You're not giving parties enough time. And what we've come back off of is we just came off of a $3 trillion refinance market, because rates just were historically and generally as low as we've seen them ever in history since we've tracked them. So what's happened is, yes, it does take a little longer. We tell everybody at least 60 days. The things that we can't control as a lender is I can't control the volume in the market.
Yeah.
So I don't know how long it's going to take that appraiser to turn the appraisal around once we place that order. So the idea is that when we meet with the borrower and we have a plan going into it, and I know my closing date, we tell them in order to stay on target with this close date, you've got to have all of your contractors and bid details and everything put together by this date in order for us to order that appraisal.
Yep.
If that appraisal doesn't get ordered by that date, chances are is what we might have to push that closing date out a little bit.
So it's really back onto the buyer to get all those orders done.
It is, but then they can't control the volume in the market. So we were experiencing 6 to 8 weeks to get appraisals delivered last year. Now today that's improved. They're probably back down to less than 3 weeks based on the volume in the market right now. But when you're when you have all that activity that comes in the market, there's only so many appraisers, so many title companies that they can only turn deals so fast. And it gets to be a little, painful when you go through that. So what we tell everybody here is our goal is to really get deals done in 60 days or less. That's our goal. If we know that we're not going to meet that 60 days, we're going to know at least 30 days in advance because, hey, we haven't been able to get the appraisal order because we've been having trouble getting bids secured from contractors. So we have supply chain issues. You just have those things that you're dealing with. The other thing that's good for you is that buyers that do home inspections. We don't want the buyer coming back to the seller and asking the seller to fix things that they find in a home inspection. We want them to be able to use that home inspection that they perform as a tool to help identify maybe some of the things that we need to build in as part of our renovation plan to get that done. And we do it after closing.
Cool.
So we don't have to do anything until after we close the loan.
So that's a huge benefit to the sellers to not guarantee, but to not expect many inspection items.
Right.
That's big. Okay.
Right. So anything that comes up in that, we don't want somebody going back to a buyer and saying, fix these things. But again, it gets down to what did come up, what do we have to fix? Maybe there might be some type of deal where we just negotiate sales price a little bit and adjust it. Maybe it's we don't adjust the sales price, but I didn't pay for closing costs, but I'm going to give you a little closing cost credit. There's ways to work through that.
Yep.
But more often than not, we save deals from home inspections that get done because sometimes people don't want to do something or they don't have the money to fix something that needs to be fixed. And then the deal falls apart.
Yeah.
We can help you keep that deal put together.
Yeah. You mentioned closing costs built in on the front end of the purchase. It goes kind of back to the buyer. Is there a limitation to percentage of purchase price that you can ask for at closing as a buyer?
3%.
Okay, so same as Fannie. Okay.
3%. If they're putting less than 10% down, it's 3%.
Okay.
If the buyer's putting more than 10% down, then you can get more closing costs from the seller, but we rarely see that in the market.
Yeah. Not for, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Man, this is really good. Thank you very much, Terry. What other, I'm trying to think of other questions. At least on a one-on-one, I'm sure I'll be sleeping tonight and think, I should have asked him this question, but.
We have a lot of changes. So about once every 3.5 years, we go through what's called a phase offering. And this is where we go in, we get our money pools raised, we do all those things, we get our agreements signed with city, county, all this stuff. But it's also an opportunity for us to go in and examine our loan programs and products. What do we do to reach more people, and how do we change or adjust the things that maybe we should be doing, but we aren't? So all I will tell you is that we've been working on this for probably the past 60 to 90 days. We've got a draft that's put together that hopefully gets submitted next week. And I would say that by July 1st, we're going to have some pretty significant changes coming to some of our lending programs. Cool. So we've got an energy efficiency benefit that's going to be coming out. So people don't think about this a lot, but when you have a property that you buy, the difference of you coming in and just doing energy efficiency improvements. Hey, I'm going to add 6 inches of insulation in the attic, or I'm going to put wall insulation in, or weather stripping. I'm going to wrap my hot water heater, whatever it is. All those things add up. Well, you're going to get forgivable money given to you to help make the home more efficient. Well, at the same time, you're going to do that in hopes that we're going to lower the actual utility costs. So it might increase your buying power a little bit, especially if you're on a tight budget.
Yeah.
So those are all different things that we can do.
Yeah, hits from both sides. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear that. So yeah, we'll definitely have you, late summer, we'll have you back on.
A lot of big things on the horizon. We got some
Perfect.
big changes coming, and when they come, yeah, you're going to need to hear about them.
That sounds good. I don't have anything else. So I'll wrap this up. I appreciate it very much. I know you have a super
my
busy
pleasure.
time. So yeah.
Well, call again. We look forward to helping you. And thank you.
Sounds good.
To anybody out there looking to buy homes, get connected. The best thing I can tell you is just get pre-approved first. You know, know what's available to you, know how it works, know how you can benefit before you start your shopping. And
And
that's the biggest piece of advice I can give.
I was gonna say, that's the process too. It's not even to start looking at houses necessarily. It's to come talk to you guys, figure out what programs are available, what can be done, and then maybe go shopping in that area. Because that's a big area. I just, yeah, that's good.
It's a big area. So
Cool.
Thank you for your time.
Terry.
all right, take care.
Yep. Bye.
Bye-bye.